Okay. 5 minutes to share it out real quick.
Need an ashtray.
Tagging people.
I think the sign I have got stuck. You can't see it yet. It's behind my microphone. But you can actually see I had something written right there.
We will definitely check it out.
No, it's usually like when I do my podcast, I put a little sign behind it with usually something written on it. But
I see.
The microphone's blocking it, but it's not a big deal. I actually just moved this podcast. I keep moving it around my house because I keep moving stuff around.
It happens, for sure.
Especially when you got a mushroom farm in your basement. Keep growing.
Okay. Okay, sharing us out. I think that's most of the groups there. What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping in. Gonna get started here in just a minute. Still sharing out. Share us out. Tag some friends. Appreciate it. It's gonna be a good little episode, guys. Funny, I can't actually share out to all that many gardening and aquaponics groups, hydroponics groups because of the cannabis. I'm welcome to share the other direction. Okay. Oh, there we go. Hello, and welcome back, everybody. Oh, well, you're too kind. You're too kind. Unfortunately, there actually isn't a stop button on that applause, but it's okay. How's it going, everybody? Another way too long Wednesday. Got the Indoor Farmer here today on episode 58, you guys. Very special episode for me. I've got a special guest on today. We're going to bring him up in just a minute here, just get some housekeeping out of the way. We had episode number 4 yesterday of the Indoor Farmer Review. Did a little bit of it was interesting. It was different. It was kind of outside my wheelhouse. I went to a vape shop that was having a grand opening. So it's worth a watch. I mean, you get to see lots of pretty shiny things in there. It was pretty cool. And then tomorrow, I just want to remind everybody, the people in the boxes tomorrow, we're still not sure on the topic. We might there are some logistical issues, but we were going to go with either healthcare or paranormal activity as far as like sharing your experience, right? That's what the show is about. So guys, leave me a comment or send me a message. Tell me what you think on that as well. Let's see here. I guess that's all I had. Let's pull up our special guest for today. What's up, Dan? Dan, the Mushroom Man. How are you?
What's going on?
Hey, so I met you once, right? But
Yeah,
that's all it took. You grew on me.
Yeah, at the event over here in Quincy for the Red Rosebuds 1 year anniversary.
I made that same mistake. It's hard to not say Redbud. I don't know why. Hi Frost. Hi everybody. That was me. Okay. What's going on, guys? Thanks for stopping in. Hit that like button, share us out. Appreciate it. Definitely gonna get into some interesting things today. So Dan, you primarily work around the Quincy area, but do you really travel much at all around Illinois, or do you go to other events?
I don't travel a lot to cannabis events. I do travel a little bit to work. I was helping over at Indiana, Chicago area for a while with some Golden Corral remodels. And I went to Vegas a few summers ago. But other than that, I don't really get to the cannabis events travel.
Sure. Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't. It at first glance you think, well, that doesn't make sense, but no, I think it does. Why not, man? Mushroom grow, even though it's not, psychoactive, right? But have you grown those?
I do. I actually have.
Do?
That's how I got actually into mushrooms.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You did tell me about this story. I do want to hear the story a little bit again. So that also helped you decide to make a podcast, right?
That's correct. I mean, I actually am. I was diagnosed bipolar about 3 years ago, and I've been using different kinds of medications since I was probably 12, and a lot of them work for a while, and then they stop working, or they cause side effects that are just too health. You have to stop and try something else. And so I met a girl about 2 years ago who had magic mushrooms, and she had some, not just magic mushrooms, she had very, very strong ones. And the first time I went into a mushroom trip and came back, my first thing was, why the fuck would nature do something like that? and ever since then, I've really just been fascinated by why something in nature could allow somebody like me, who's been, mentally ill and had to deal with a lot of different things since early age, can allow them to find awareness and enlightenment and actually heal from them.
This amazing substance, just like so many other substances that can be abused, obviously, but with this one, it's so interesting because they are using it now for what they call microdosing, and they're using it for to help depression. And from my mediocre understanding, what it's doing is it's actually rerouting some of your damaged parts of your brain, rerouting the synapses and the your thoughts around the areas that are damaged, and actually creating new pathways in order to heal the brain. It's something like that, right? Is it similar?
Yeah, I mean, the what happens is when people are mentally ill, they kind of get stuck in a loop, and they can't escape the loop of whatever it is they're dealing with. And when you do mushrooms, it allows you to become aware of that loop and aware of why you are the way you are. And a lot of our issues with mental health actually come from our childhood, and we just don't remember a lot of those moments that later affect us as an adult. And a lot of people find, mushroom use difficult because it allows us to relive our childhood, and sometimes it's really difficult. But I believe that when you actually rethink it while you're actually on the mushroom, the brain actually reorganizes it in your brain in a more positive way, so you're not so traumatized,
You have
by
perspective
whatever.
now. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have more perspective now than you did at that age to be
yes,
able to process it.
yes.
Yeah. Hey everybody, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. A lot of comments going through. Hi Val, how you doing? So guys, if you're just coming in, this is Dan here. He's actually a man of many facets. I'm actually really interested in the podcast side too, just because I'm interested in all of that sort of thing. And but we're gonna try and stick it to the mushrooms today. I don't want to take up all your lunch, and let's see
Okay.
here. Let me pull up the video that I had set up for today. It's not very long, but it does kind of go through some of the cycle of that one bag that you gave me, which I
Uh-huh.
appreciate very much. That was a long trip for me. It was a little bit. I'm sort of doing things outside my comfort zone now, and that was kind of one of them. So I'm glad that a bunch of things came out of it. So, oh, let's shut off the
I
sound.
I actually used to make that drive quite a bit. I was in the military, and my unit was in Bartonville.
Oh, me too.
So I was in had to make that drive for about a year and a half, about once a month. So
What was your unit?
that was the airborne
Okay.
infantry unit in
Hmm.
Bartonville, right outside of the air base there.
Sure. Yeah, I was in the base, the National Guard base down the road.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was in National Guard. But
Okay.
so
Okay.
I wasn't airborne, but I was infantry. But there were airborne in that unit.
We've got Courtney that says that she's been microdosing recently. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in microdosing for sure, but I also know that macrodosing is something that can be a periodic reset, right? Is kind of what people describe it
Yeah.
as.
I mean, when I was first going at it, I was doing it once a week, but I don't think it's addicting. I think you're more addicting to the truth that it reveals to you. And for a while there, I was finding a lot of answers to why I am the way I am, but I do it about once every 4 to 6 weeks now. A macro
Mac.
dose,
Sure. Sure.
and it really is a reset because life kind of builds up. You kind of get tired of things, and then once you reset it, it kind of brings it back down to a level that everything's tolerable again, and you're
Right.
happy. And
Is it like an out of body experience, but out of your habits, out of your circle, like you were saying? It's almost
yeah,
like you're able to see yourself from a different
but
point of view.
what actually a lot of science seems to show too is that there's a portion of our brain that controls the who we are, ourself, and our ego as well. And what happens when we do mushrooms? That part of our brain goes completely silent. We have no awareness of us, of who we are, and we kind of become, more about the world, and we see things from a perspective that isn't just about I, it's about we,
Sure.
and
More
that-
external.
that's. And I mean, a lot of studies have already shown that a lot of people's mushroom trips are a lot about love, and about feeling that. And I know that's what the
Hmm.
Johns Hopkins University study has shown a lot of, is people experience true love and come back and understand why we're here a lot more, and the answers like that.
I don't want to delve too much into the psilocybin, but I do. It
Yeah.
is very interesting. But there, I've used to watch Joe Rogan more often than I should have probably. But every now and then he talks about how uh, tripping has been shown to possibly be able to let us connect with beings from other dimensions. And they're actually studying this, and they're actually like,
Uh-huh.
they think that that's actually how aliens travel to our planet. It's not from a spaceship; it's through these a thin veil through that psychedelic trip. Anyway, it's very interesting. But with that, we'll move on. But I do want to get
Well,
to these edible
I,
mushrooms. But go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I actually had a fascinating response to that. I'm actually a very
Yeah.
science guy, but I mean, I've had mushroom trips where there's knowledge in my brain that I never learned, that I never never put in there, and how it gets in there when you're on a mushroom trip. It's kind of bizarre to have knowledge that you never learned about in these experiences. And I mean, that could very well be something like that. There's a lot that we don't understand about this universe, and
Steve,
that's
you might be right
definitely one of
about.
them.
Well, but I think maybe they're talking more about DMT, if I remember right. I've done DMT once. I didn't see any machine elves. I did feel like I was falling down a dark, pitch black pit.
Yeah.
For about 5 minutes, I thought I was just dying. I thought this was it. I'm just getting sucked
And
into nothing.
I've actually never experienced but one hallucination, and when I did have it, I actually said you're not real, and the hallucination disappeared. So a lot of the stuff that does happen is when you close your eyes, and the things that happen in your brain that you see, and kind of what you feel in the world. They're not more or less hallucinations. They're just feelings that you experience.
It is weird. To me, I think with mushrooms, it's more of a color. The colors are melting and merging. I think with like LSD, you actually start to have literal hallucinations, especially
Yeah.
if you're, using too much or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely either way. You can go too hard. I know mushrooms have make me feel sick sometimes. That nauseous feeling and stuff. And that's probably not for everybody, I'm sure. But
Well, you just ate a poison, so it's your body's response to that. So
sure,
a lot of
exactly.
times that's just what it is, and
That's
your
how with
brain is
alcohol. Right. It's similar with alcohol, right?
changing. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's we'll just let this play. I did want to point out, like, so part of my show is about learning how to be self-sustainable, on my own journey, and I'm trying to bring that to everybody else. And I installed a water heater. I had some help, but I'm sure this is like normal stuff for a lot of people, but it's not when you go into an area that you don't know. It's a house that I just I've only lived in since almost a year now, and I'm sitting here looking at all these pipes that I'm that I don't think I should be moving, but I'm like, oh no, when you have to squeeze the thing in and out of the place, it was a mess. So, but it's installed, and I have hot water again. Look how corroded this thing was.
Yeah.
Hi, Jay. Yeah, so I didn't want to like try to clean it up and fix it. I thought, yeah, let's get rid of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. This is, I don't know how long this is, but yeah, I got rid of the old one, and it says 9-year warranty, you guys. The new ones, you're lucky to get a 5-year warranty. They are making them worse and worse, just like all the old men say. This is happening. It's happening. Anyway, so yeah, that's my basement, but I'm actually gonna seal in that room that you see ahead of us with the blue tarp, or what it was a quilt that I went and bought. I'm gonna seal that in with Panda film and make a proper grow room, and actually paint it with all the mold, whatever, eating paint and stuff. So
Yeah.
So I don't know how long each one of these pictures are up. So I don't know if you use any video editing software, but there's the new water heater. So I had to learn a new video editing software today, because when I woke up, my computer had an update. And so then Microsoft says, oh yeah, you can't use this app that you've been using for a year. You have to download this new app. So here's my aquaponics system. Anyway, so I figured it out. These are little clones that I have in the aquaponics. I think I'm going to start using the aquaponics to grow my cannabis. Look at this.
Yeah, I actually grow with hydroponics and a 5-gallon bucket with a air stone at the bottom and feed it air. And I grow some really good marijuana. I've been doing it for a few years.
Well, and these
cool.
sweet potatoes right there, those have only gotten water from the fish tank. That's it. And then the same with the potatoes behind it. And then there's some mint right there. Everything I grow over there has only gotten that. Now the cannabis, obviously, this is a video from last week. I'm just showcasing some of everything that's hanging. And everything that was on that side of the room, I've already now bagged into 4 separate gallon Ziploc bags. This isn't for sale, everybody, just so you know. Yes, Elisa May, aeroponics. I want to work aeroponics into my aquaponics. Oh, bro, I showed this video last week. I'm gonna show it again. I butchered this bag. It's a thick plastic, and I had this sharp knife,
That's
and
6 mil.
it's kind of comical. And then there's this spider that I didn't see. You see this? You guys see the
I
spider
think I
by my
saw it at the
hand?
top. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is funny. I watched this last week too, but I thought it's not very long. I thought I'd play it again, but yeah, he moves and then he moves again. It's like this. Like I was this
You
close
prob
from.
you probably
Look,
needed a
it looks
sharper knife.
the knife is sharp. I promise.
Uh,
It's
yeah,
just
that
that the
it's
angle,
6
the
mil
way I was doing
plastic,
it.
so
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
pretty
all it
thick
was.
plastic.
And I look like an idiot with this knife, but I didn't cut myself. And
Well,
then
at least you got it to fruit, that's all that matters.
sure, and I did cut into the block, which I was like, oh no, that's not good.
No. No, it doesn't hurt it. They don't mind it. Yeah,
Who is that? Trent. Oh yeah, Trent saw it.
that's why I usually use a really sharp steak knife that works really well to cut the bag open.
Is this somewhat like you imagine the
Yeah,
block? Okay,
a little smaller I usually make it, but if you make it small, the mushroom kind of stretches it out.
I see. And then here's
Is the
my.
spider is the spider crawling up the block right now?
He was.
I
I
think
don't
I
know.
see it in the front of it.
Oh yeah,
There's something crawling on it.
that's the spider. That's the same one. I
But
found it.
there's
I found it later.
a lot of insects are attracted, especially slugs. I've actually found slugs in my fruiting chamber. I have
Really?
no idea how they got in there, but they really love mycelium.
Hmm.
And
So that's one of the
a lot of
issues. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about some of that because I want to get into. I think I might start getting into this. I mean, it seems pretty easy
uh,
until I have to figure out how to make more of it.
yeah, and there's endless options when you cook it as well. So there's a lot to learn once you actually grow it in the kitchen.
Yeah. Cat doesn't like mushrooms, but
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the texture and
looks
the
nasty.
taste.
Just wait, Cat. Just wait. People don't like the texture and the taste.
Yeah,
Maybe
that seems to be the number one reason people don't like mushrooms is the
Oh, in
texture.
general, sure.
Yeah,
I was like, what about this one? I don't think I've ever had these.
but that's usually the complaint I hear. But yeah, looks like you got a couple big clusters of blue oyster growing there.
Yeah, I know, Trent. That's why I'm at home with my own knife. And it did look scary cutting it, but I was fine. They're also worried about me in the chat with the. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you've used StreamYard yet, but there is a way for you to look at the chat. Oh no, you're on the computer, aren't you? So you can
Yeah,
probably see it just fine. Oh, here it is. They look like ears. Oh man,
yeah,
I'm harvesting ears.
yeah. It's a nice little cluster. Probably got a nice pound there.
That's nothing yet. Hold on.
But
I'm gonna wait till the last picture of mushrooms, and then I'm gonna show you what they look like now. My camera is off a little bit here. Goodness gracious. Can I just twist you a little bit? There we go.
and they actually grow all differently according to your environment. So a lot
Really?
of people, because it's based on airflow and CO2 and moisture, that how big they grow and how well they grow.
Okay,
And
so I'll have to get into that because I had it sitting next to the aquaponic system, so I'm sure it was getting extra oxygen.
yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah,
they're
it
just,
looks
I
big.
mean, they're just like humans. They, exhale CO2 and inhale oxygen, and that's the same. They're a fungi kingdom and not actually an animal or a plant.
You know what, Dan? You're a fun guy. Let me show you guys something. This is what it looks like now. Yeah, look at those. I think I broke one by sitting it somewhere.
Yeah, they're ready to eat. You can eat them tonight.
So, well, I mean, but so like, what do you? So I would just cut the biggest ones off, right?
No,
And
you can
then,
usually you can pull the whole flush because usually the whole thing will stop growing at once. And it's
oh,
right. The spores or the gills actually open up right before they drop the spores, and that's when when it's the ripest, right when the cap starts to come like that to the top. And so that one
like,
was probably done last night. It's kind of over ripening now, and the gills will
Oh
start to open
no.
up. You're fine. It's just once it over ripens, it can start to dry up a little, but the taste and everything else is just fine still.
Okay.
But
So what
it'll
happens when I take that off, and then there's a bunch of little ones around that are still in this? Does it
yeah,
continue to grow?
you can just pull those all off and clear it all off, and then it'll reflush, and in about 2 weeks you'll get another flush of mushrooms, usually about
Okay.
half of that size.
Interesting.
And I've had bags that flushed about 4 times, and the last flush you only get like a mushroom or two, but they'll continue to grow until it exhausts all the media in it.
So how do you get more? Oh, hold on, let me pull you back up. So how do you get more then from that? Do you catch those, like where my hand is there? Would you catch the spores?
No, the spores are basically only if you're going to colonize it further, like if you have the lab like I do. But it'll just flush out, and then the bag, once it's exhausted, the bag's basically, just sort in your garden and add some mycelium to it. But eventually the bag exhausts out, and then you just have to get another bag, or learn to make them yourself as well.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm getting
Uh,
to here. So what would be the next step in order to make them myself? Obviously having a lab and equipment and stuff.
oh,
But
I mean, you could do it relatively cheap. The stuff that's in the bag are the wood pellets, and I literally get them at a Menards in Quincy for $6 for 50 pounds. And then the other stuff is a soy hull, which is the outer shell of like a soybean, and you can get that at usually any local grain store, and relatively cheap as well. So it's a 50-50 mix of both of those, and then some water, and that's what the mycelium uses to grow from.
oh, so you don't so do you add the mycelium or
Yeah, and then
okay.
you basically colonize the mycelium in petri dishes or quart jars with. I use a rye berry, or not a rye berry, a whole wheat berry, and there are other berries that are different stuff that you can use to colonize out the substrate further, and then so you can inoculate the bag with the mycelium.
Okay. So
It's
yeah,
kind of
you
a
kind of
it's kind of a process to do it all once you learn it all, and I've been, over the last 2 years, teaching myself a lot of this, because I didn't know anything until 2 years ago, know anything
sure.
about mushrooms, and you just have to teach yourself everything.
Well, I mean, I may end up because I want to learn everything, right? But I have to
Uh,
make this. I have to turn this into something profitable in order to grow from there, literally. Um, and then so downstairs in my basement, I have a large table that I'm going to turn commercial, and I'm going to just go after contract grows on like a specific thing, like one or two, mostly just one item to a bunch of places,
uh,
and then go from there. But yeah, eventually I want to learn all of this, and I want to put it on the show and show the process as I go through. I'm not. This isn't a show about all the details on how to learn something, but just on my perspective on how I'm going through it and my experience of learning. I also like to use this show to showcase like your business and other people's my friends' grow spaces, my buddies' gardens, different things like that. And eventually go to farmers and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show this grow light because it's a heavy, heavy grow light. And now I'm not
yeah,
using it.
it's kind of hard to see how big it is. Is that 4 feet wide, or is it
Oh man, yeah, it's a 2 foot by two
2 feet?
foot. No, is it? Yeah, no, it's 2 foot by 2 foot, but it's heavy as hell.
Yeah, it looks
And
like.
I'm thinking about doing a giveaway just because I'm trying to boost my page up to get to that 1,000 mark. So I don't know. I might end up doing a giveaway. I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to do tons of giveaways all the time, but I might do a couple just to get my numbers up there. Are you on Facebook too, Dan?
Yeah, all my podcast and my mushroom business, and my main source of income is construction that I've done for 15 years, and
Sure.
that's
Well, that's
that's
good
what I'm.
knowledge.
Yeah, which is what I'm trying to get out of, because I
Sure.
can't do it my whole life. It's the
Hmm.
heart of the body, and
But just having those skills, I like that's part of this whole self-sustainable kick I'm
uh,
on. Is just if I had some more construction skills, my house, some of the little projects I need to do would be a little bit easier. But I'm learning. I'm learning with aquaponics. I'm learning construction, plumbing, electrical, and growing.
Yeah,
So,
especially when you build your own stuff,
oh yeah, I'm building stuff out of repurposed materials. So this is the bud that came from outside that I'm just turning into bubble hash. This is not
Nice.
good bud. It's in a bunch of. I have like 4 bags of it. Anyway, this is an edible. Imus Edibles, you guys. He what's the link? Oh, you Val, you think we should link his page? Yeah, well, we could. Let's see. Is it just your name, Dan?
What's that?
Is your Facebook page where your podcast and everything is? Is that just your name? Just your regular?
Yeah, and there's links on there and on my personal page and onto the other accounts. The Rumination podcast that's what actually it's called. It's called the Rumination Podcast, and you can actually search Facebook and find that. And Great River Mushrooms is actually Great River Mycology on Facebook.
You got that too? Jeez. That's a different page?
Yeah. The Rumination Project is more or less where I talk about the stuff that I can't really talk about in my business, like the psychedelic mushroom portion.
Sure.
And I kind of keep it separate and talk about it on that instead. And actually, the rumination means to talk about complex, deep thoughts. And so I thought it was a perfect name to talk about a lot of different things about different subjects, especially mental health.
For sure, and we do talk about that a lot on People in the Boxes tomorrow on Thursday nights. We go through a lot of different subjects, but a lot of them have to do with different mental health situations. I did just want to point out this cookie. I'm gonna give Ima. I'm gonna give it 4 leaves on the cookie. The cake pop, 5 leaves. 5 leaves, easy on the cake pop. The cookie was a little bit was good. It still was good. It just wasn't as tasty as the cake pop. Rumination Podcast. Thanks, Valerie. I was trying to type that, but I couldn't. I was trying to actually tag it. Is what I was trying to do. But
yeah, I don't get into a lot of edibles. They usually make me too tired and I fall asleep. So doing construction, that's not really a good thing to be falling asleep at.
Yeah, you don't want to do too many. That's for sure. And then Trent found out the hard way. He passed out, I guess, on his live stream. Is that what happened, Trent? I don't know. It says fucked me up and I didn't like it, bro. Something didn't like it with me. Something didn't like it with me. You might be fucked up right now. I'm looking at this. It says I are both
those cookies.
I've
ate 3 cookies once in my life, and I didn't know how powerful they were until about an hour later when I was floating at another level. I've never been high that since then. So
wow. Well, yeah, definitely take a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
A little bit at a time for sure. So, oops, let me click that. So anyway, yeah, appreciate you coming in, and I can't wait to try my mushrooms now. Like I'll take I'll add I'll take like mushroom soup like Campbell's, and I'll add more like real mushrooms in there.
Yeah, that's
big
actually what I do
like
too. It's an easy way to add, a little more nutrition to something that's easy to make.
Yeah, I do the same thing with broccoli and cheese soup. You add more broccoli, more cheese. But let me try to think if there was anything else that I wanted to go over.
But also to make note, you actually have to cook them as well to actually get the nutritional value. So if you eat them raw, you don't really get any nutrition from them.
A bunch of liquid just came out of them.
Yeah, that's probably some of the antibiotics it makes to fight off some of that contamination. Is that what it was?
I don't know. It peed on me.
Yeah, it's like a yellowish pee. Yeah. So
I don't see any color to it. It looks like water, but
yeah, the mushroom bag that makes this little liquid that fights off contamination. It's basically its own antibiotic, and the more of it you see, that usually means it's fighting off contaminations. And that is usually that your area maybe have a little contaminations in it, but that's usually what it is.
Well, that could be the issue.
Told to
My
some
basement was what I was having some troubles with different things down there with humidity and stuff. So
uh
I think I've got it under control now. But that's also why I was pointing out earlier how I plan on sealing in a space in my basement and really do my best to make it fully, clean and sealed and a lot of airflow and stuff. Hey, what's up, Orpheus? What's up?
It's hard to
Uh,
keep an area clean. It's, germs are everywhere, especially on us. And every time you walk into your garden, you carry in more germs, and so it's kind of hard to do. Even
right.
even if you have the right equipment.
Well, that's why I'm trying to stay indoors, and I want to make a corridor that where I'm going to use this grow tent I have, and I'm going to walk inside one side, and then I'm going to put on like a clean suit or like a rain poncho or something, and it's not going to be 100% obviously, but that's going to be one extra step I'm going to go through where I have like a
Uh,
you know. But Steve-O is asking, so I kind of talked to him about this, Steve-O, but what would you say? Could you give us like your first steps as to how to start going about it yourself? I know you listed a lot of the
uh,
process.
well, the biggest area is to have an area where you actually have a lot of moisture, so you need a tent. Like I have a fruiting tent that is in the 60 degrees and at 90% humidity,
Oh
and
wow.
it constantly has an evaporator I made with using an atomic. I don't know, it's a fogger that you see like in a pond, like a fogging machine,
Okay.
and it has an atomic disc in it. And I actually put it inside the water, and has its own feeding system where it'll feed water in there and constantly fill itself up and keep it at that moisture level. But
Wow.
you can get smaller tents and and buy a little unit evaporators or humidifiers and use those. You just have to fill them up a lot more. And and the
So
most uh,
you're saying that the biggest thing that you would start with is creating the right environment that you're going to grow them in.
yeah,
And
and
that's having a tent.
they do sell a lot of smaller tents. A little 4x4 tent can grow a lot of mushrooms in it. You can grow hundreds of pounds on the
Hmm.
shelves, because they don't take a lot of room, those bags, and each bag can grow, up to 2 pounds of mushrooms.
So do you find it easier to sell the bags that people can make like the one I have, or to just harvest the mushrooms and sell those to restaurants or something?
So harvesting the mushrooms and selling them is my main goal,
Okay.
and the bags are kind of a secondary way to make income. But the real goal is to educate people on mushrooms, and then make sales through that way, and then they can add a
Hmm.
lot of nutrition to their life
Yeah, a
without.
lot of that's coming out now with mushrooms. That how multiple different types of mushrooms give you different types of nutrients, and there's also like that. What is that mushroom coffee that I saw not too
Yeah,
long ago?
yeah, and that's something that I want to develop as well. But that's the 2 to 3 year plan. I really just want to start with the basics, and
Sure.
move a few brands through local farmers markets and at restaurants as well.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I think restaurants, if you get a hold of, twice as many restaurants as you could provide to, and you have like half of them say that week they don't need any, then you're basically still doing good.
Um,
That's sort of my idea with produce. But yeah, this has been awesome, man. I kind of want to see your setup, but maybe someday I'll come that way and check it out. But yeah, I know you
yeah.
don't want to give away all your special sauce either. So
I mean, yeah, I could do a podcast where I actually use my phone, and then I can actually walk around down there because it's just down in my basement. But
yeah, yeah,
some of
no,
the equipment is louder. I've actually tried to do video podcasts down there, and some of the equipment was louder than I was. But
you can actually we don't have the time today, but you can actually stay on here and then
uh,
on your phone also join in, and then you could just do it right here. But again, we're about to wrap up here. It's my son will be off the bus here in a little while, but yeah, no, it's been awesome. I want to learn more about it, but I don't know that I can move into that after I spent all the money to get to the point where I can grow my medicine.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point now, and it was very costly. A lot of people say, well, grow your own. Well, yeah, and the learning process is costly, and then it's costly when you start to expand and you get too many grow lights and too much stuff to do. So yeah, it's becoming less so now because I'm done with the harvest, and now I'm just in trim jail forever. So
Yeah, I just
that's fine.
actually harvest them here. This is some of the Ophelia that,
Oh,
and it's pretty much done. But I've been growing this strain for about 2 years, and it's pretty stinky, and I really like it a lot. And
so
it's pretty.
you still really like it, even though you've been growing the same strain for a long time?
Yeah, I actually found it. A friend gave it to me, and it was I can't remember the grower. She found a seed in some marijuana she bought. She bought at the dispensary, and it's tested at 24%. It has a really rare terpene in it, apparently. And I've been
Hmm.
giving it to a person with Alzheimer's, and she's been getting such phenomenal results that she's been able to stop taking 2 of her
Wow.
prescriptions. And that was another thing that we could have had an episode about is the Greenleaf Coalition, Compassion
Okay.
Coalition, which is the marijuana coalition where I'm trying to give out free products to people who need them, and then we do charity work through bake sales of edibles and stuff like that. And
Is
that
there
that's
is there a page for that too?
yeah, that's on my Facebook too. But then you can find it at Greenleaf Compassion Quincy. And I've started that 2 years ago in the middle of COVID, so it's kind of gone slow. But I mean, the goal was always to give away the extra marijuana and different kinds of products that I make, and uh, and educate people on marijuana and just be an advocate for marijuana.
Greenleaf Compassion Coalition.
Yeah,
There's a Greenleaf Compassion, and then there's a Greenleaf Compassion Coalition.
Greenleaf Compassion Coalition. Yeah, the Greenleaf Compassion
There it
Quincy.
is.
That's the Facebook page.
Cool. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I don't know what you do video content on mostly, but you would be welcome back anytime on this show. The show is not that's the show is called The Indoor Farmer. It's not about me being that. It's about just in like a generic term.
Yeah.
I just personally think indoor growing is the way of the future in general, because I don't think we can
Oh, of
use
course.
thousands and thousands of acres of good living climate area, where we should be building like underground and
Yeah,
and bad climates for farming,
it's
like
getting more difficult to grow outdoors, and I think I saw a statistic that said 60% of our food by 2050 would come from indoor farms.
it's
It's going to
definitely
be
growing. Have you heard of
yeah.
Kickstarter?
Yes.
So I did my research a while back and looking at GoFundMe, and basically aquaponics is the way I'm growing, and because I want to have the fish out of the system too, that protein. But I looked at aquaponics, and I looked at like 40 different campaigns, and not a single one made their goal. And then I go to Kickstarter, look at another 40 of them, every single one makes their goal. And that's because on Kickstarter it's much more business oriented and developing a bit ideas or technology. And I think the business community sees that indoor farming is the way of the future. So I am doing all of this to build up my knowledge and to build up the content that you see online to sort of show that I'm out here doing the work. And when I get to the point where I can call myself a farmer, which is when I go commercial, that's because I've done all this work to become a good hobby and make it knowledgeable. Because like you're doing, you can't just you can't just go and get a business loan to become a farmer. You have to know the stuff as a
Yeah.
passion first. It has to
Yeah.
be a hobby first. I
Yeah. If you
looked
have,
at Go ahead.
yeah. So if you get the money first, but you don't have the knowledge, you're just going to fail. I
Yeah,
mean, you have
yeah.
to have the knowledge of how to
The
spend the
passion
money.
behind it too. Like I
Yeah.
give my ideas away freely because the passion behind what I envision is not going to be the same passion that you have when you're taking my idea, not, someone in general. But
Yeah.
that's why I don't mind. I have more. They just keep flowing out of me all the time. I can't actually get any of them implemented. So so I give them
No.
up freely. But hi Latrice, it's been a while. I haven't seen you. How are you doing? But yeah, guys, I'm gonna let my guest go here, but go check him out. I've linked some of his stuff in the comments, and definitely got a lot going on, man. I'd be more than happy to talk about what your podcast and everything at some point. What is it about specifically? Just
The podcast was, I started to basically talk about complex things in life, from mental health to space to what happens when we die, and more complex
wow.
subjects. And the goal was to have guests as well, and just to talk about those subjects.
When
And
do you do it?
I actually have not done it for about 8 months, but I
Oh,
have 3 episodes, and you actually inspired me to actually do a little more now that I had my podcast set up.
yeah,
But I had been building my other businesses and got a little too busy. I always
sure.
said I was going to do the podcast, but my other 3 episodes were all about mental health, and I have one episode that's 54 minutes long where I actually talk about the magic mushroom use and how I actually use them, and more or less a 3-step ritual that I kind of found online.
Hmm.
Because it actually is not just about doing the mushrooms; it's about what happens before and after as well, or a third of each of the whole process of
Hmm.
doing and
That
consuming
makes
them.
sense. Yeah, that might be why I've had like
Uh,
nauseous experiences and things like that.
I mean, otherwise, if you just do the mushrooms, it's just an experience unless you actually use that experience to learn
Well,
something from.
well, I want you to come on tomorrow if you're available tomorrow night, because tomorrow the people in the boxes is right up that alley too. Like we literally come up with a different topic each week. I know most everybody says, well, it's up to you, but I do ask the other people that generally come on a lot, and I ask
Uh,
people's opinions on what we should talk about, because the show is about everybody talking about our shared experiences on topics. A lot of times it's a topic that everybody has some kind of experience or some history with. We've talked about, PTSD and domestic violence, and, pets and cannabis use. We've talked about a lot of different things, but I'm not set yet. Tomorrow's going to be like, I think I told you already, but yeah, either paranormal activity or healthcare, one of the two. We're not 100% on either one of those yet, so we'll see. I'm hoping to get some more input on it. Honestly, I could go either direction on that, and it's sort of
I like
designed.
paranormal stuff. That's what.
Go ahead. That's what you like to. That's your wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, when I actually on my podcast card, I actually put Ghost Hunter on there, and that was only because I wanted to be taken serious if I actually did approach somebody about ghost hunting on their property,
I
because
see.
I do find it really captivating, and I did want to eventually include that, like ghost hunts on my podcast.
That might be what we do tomorrow. We have somebody who is interested in being on tomorrow, but we're gonna figure out which topic depending on that on that person, and maybe a couple others. But anyway, enough said about that. But tomorrow at Thursday nights at 8, man. If I mean 10, there's 10 spots on the screen. I host, so I keep it pretty uh what's the word, moderated. God, I couldn't think of the word. I keep it moderated. It's not just a free for all, and then, but the way that the show is designed is that I let people from the audience come up on screen to give their experience with the topic. And so it's sort of like a talk show where the audience can come up and give theirs. But I also invite people like yourself and others on, as long as we got 1 or 2 spots for an audience member to come up and give their opinion. We got 10 spots. So otherwise, yeah, no, we'll talk about that. If you want to hit me up about it, you can. No big deal. And if you want help getting your podcast back off the ground, man, I mean, I actually do like doing the back behind the scenes, the production side of stuff, and being the not even on screen, just pushing the buttons, that kind of stuff. So that interests me, but I have to focus too in order to make sure something is paying off for all these different endeavors.
Yeah. The editing software is kind of intimidating too. That stuff can get pretty complex with some of the video software, and it can be intimidating to
That new
actually make a
program, I said,
podcast.
yeah, that new program, Microsoft actually stepped up their game a bit. It's called Clip something. Anyway, it looks that like I can edit a lot more than I could before, and this is the only program I found that's free to do that. So they did take away a program I was using, but they've given me a new one that's usable now finally. So before that I was just doing what's the word, selective editing or selective producing. Like I would record in such a way that I wasn't going to have to edit that, you know. At least that
That's
was
with
the
the
idea.
StreamYard app that you use?
No,
That's
StreamYard is just for
where you have-
streaming. I use
Okay.
so the regular photos on Windows, the Windows Photos app. That used to have the ability to make videos, and you couldn't edit, could not edit. You could just put together photos and videos, and there were some other things, and that's all I've been using. And then today they've taken that away. Now it's Clip something. I have to get the name, but anyway, it looks like it's actually editable. So before that, I had to pay for anything I looked at. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Appreciate your time, Dan. Thanks, man. It sounds like I think we have a lot in common as far as different things, farming and production. So I think we'll have a lot to talk about. Anybody have any questions for Dan before we leave here? Valerie's still trying to figure out what Trent's talking about. Don't worry about it, Valerie. Aquaponics, Red Lobsters has a huge aquaponics farm. Oh, it keeps their food costs down. Check it out. It's pretty interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be an awesome walkthrough. I could go check out. That would be awesome. Yep. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everybody, for coming through tonight. Dan, with that, if you want to say goodbye, we're going to throw out the outro.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.